When most people think of leadership positions, eloquence and speech is considered more important than listening. And many times this has led men to either encompass or encapsulate the views and opinions of women.
Hi guys, welcome to Page Pe Charcha. This is Nupur and I'm here today with Shrivam and Katyayani, and this is our third session.
I'm Katyayani. I'm the president of Girl Up at HKU, and what do I do? I'm a lot of things. As a part of the organization, I sort of helped. I started it with one of my close friends, and I connect the organization to other Girl Ups. I handle all of the internal matters.
Hi everyone, I'm Shrivam. I'm a graduate student at the University of Hong Kong, and I'm one of the event managers at Girl Up. Girl Up, the HKU chapter of Girl Up. I just want to say that it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and just on behalf of the entire Girl Up community. I'm just going to speak for Katyayani here. Just thank you so much for inviting us.
My first question is, how did you come across Girl Up? Like, how did you first find out about Girl Up?
The idea was to create sort of a club or a group, or should I say collective, like something not too much of like we didn't want to give it structure or too much of like, it was just supposed to be a safe space for women to talk about the issues they're facing, to discuss them, to find a sense of community at Hong Kong U, and as well as try to reach out to these women, help them build up on their skills, develop like leadership abilities and stuff like that. So that's what we wanted to create, like a space for that. And we came across Girl Up because Girl Up is a really famous United Nations campaign, and we came across them. I think it was just one of my friends was running Girl Up in Delhi, and I thought, why don't we just use the Girl Up name, because they have a lot of resources and they have a lot of support. And there's something called the Girl Up Leadership Development Summit, and it's really big. People from all over the world attend it. There's a lot of amazing speakers. So it sort of became like the perfect way to represent our organization. So that's how we use the Girl Up name. That's it basically.
For me, I came across Girl Up, to be very honest, because Katyayani called me and told me about it. I was stuck somewhere in Bangalore traffic when I got a call from Katyayani, and she said, "Hey, Shrivam, do you want to be a part of the organization that I'm helping start at the University of Hong Kong?" So I said, yeah. We've been friends for quite a while by then, so it was just really easy for me to transition into this organization. And I just guess all props goes to Katyayani because she's the reason I'm here.
Friends.
Great. How has your previous experience with hosting campaigns like that helped with Girl Up?
For me, it was organizing people and bringing people together. I think I've been quite successful over my time in HQ at doing events, at bringing people together, making like teams and committees, and organizing people and making them work. So I think from that I was it made it super easy for me to like find people who I knew were passionate about it. I think because of my because I'm very active on social media talking about these issues, so I know who kind of has like similar, I don't want to say similar opinions, but who knows that these issues are super important, and getting women in tech, getting women represented. And I know people who care about these issues, and I've been surrounded by these people. So that's why I could easily reach out to them, find them, and get them on board for this project. So I think that was really useful for me. My own sense of community in Hong Kong that was made up of these people who actually believed in the cause of Girl Up. And that's why it was so much easier for me to bring them on board.
First all-boys school in the country to hold a gender rights, to plan something based on gender rights. And it was a moment of pride for all of us. I think that's where my interest in campaigning for these matters began. the differences between campaigning at school and university are, of course, very, very different. And because of locations in different societies, that thing changes a lot. But I think just as Katyani said, it was very easy to do this at Hong Kong, mainly because it was just so easy to find a sense of community. We already knew people, as Katyani said, who had expressed explicit interest in these issues. So it really, I don't want to say it was a breeze to get this all started, but I just want to say it certainly went, I think, better than expected, at least from my personal point of view. And campaigning, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more, but it's just started from there, and I'm really happy with where it's at.
So I wanted to ask, do you think men should be included in the conversation as active listeners or as somebody who can actually voice in their opinions? And why? Like, why do you think? What do you think?
Honestly, I think it's very important to have men in these conversations, because not just as active listeners, but to hear them as well. But it's because, see, feminism isn't something like I have heard. Using this word has got me in a lot of trouble. So for years, I've been told, oh, feminism is like saying women are better than men and hating on men and, oh, all men are trash, all of that. And it frustrates me and it's so annoying. But at the core of it, the idea of feminism is not to put women above anyone else. It's to bring them so that they have equal rights and that they deserve as human beings. And the conversation can never end there. It has to have men in it, because men are, let's just say, have the privilege in society to help raise these issues, help prevent these things from happening. And I think it's so important to have men in these conversations, because feminism doesn't just help women, it helps men equally, if not more. Toxic masculinity, suicides, depression, not showing your feelings, this whole masculinity that we've created, like the perfect masculinity, you know, being able to fight and violence and not showing your emotions, is not what masculinity is supposed to be. And I think if we had, if we proposed a more thoughtful version of masculinity, or just destroyed the whole idea of masculinity and femininity for one, if I had the choice. But yeah, I think all of these things actually help men as much as they help women. If you're bringing women up to the same level that men are already at, that's not just helping women as human beings, but it's also just in the general way of society. It's making society safer. It's making society better in economic ways. It's just helping everyone. So I don't know why men should not be a part of the conversation, or should not want to be a part of the conversation. But yeah, men should always be a part of the conversation. But men have to also be very good, active listeners, because I think as a woman, the experiences you have are very different. And a lot of the times, even in our brown societies, we don't talk about these experiences that women are having. Women don't come out explicitly and say it. Your sister or your mom might not say it. But if you become active listeners and ask the women around you, hey, what are the struggles of your daily life? Or what are things that I would never notice as a man that you have to go through? And I think when you become active listeners, you understand the issue from a side that you would have never seen. It's impossible for men to understand the need for feminism unless they actually are active listeners. I'm sorry, I'm going on for so long. But if they're actively listening and they're learning about how it is for women or anyone in society who is less privileged than them, and this is for anyone who has more privilege, if you're actively listening to the people who have less privilege than you, then you're helping them by understanding their problems, and that way you can be a part of the conversation better. So yeah, to be a part of the conversation, you have to be really good, active listeners, and then only you can be a part of this conversation. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Nupur, to answer your question, I'm just going to come out and say yes. It is extremely important that we have men as part of these conversations for a couple of reasons. The common reasons you hear is, of course, statistically, half the world's men, so there's no point just completely trying to remove half the world from the conversation. And I mean, there are other quite simple reasons thrown around, but really I'd like to focus on a few, right? The reason many people, at least the reason that some people say that men shouldn't be involved in these conversations has historic ties to it. Traditionally, women have been raised as better listeners as men. Men have been raised as better speakers and more eloquent public speakers. And that has, as we see with prime ministerial and presidential campaigns. That has always been the case. And whenever people in leadership position, when most people think of leadership positions, eloquence and speech is considered more important than listening. And many times this has led men to either encompass or encapsulate the views and opinions of women. And that is something that we need to, and because women wanted to strike back, like, women or people who identified as women wanted to strike back against it, you hear the talk of not getting men too involved in the conversation because they're so used to taking our thoughts and wording it in a different manner, right? So I understand where so I understand where the historical perspective comes from. However, I think we've reached a point in the modern sense of the term feminism where we can come forward and say that if you just take a look at the concept of feminism, right, the equality of opportunity for all genders, that's what we're really looking for. You can't discuss that without including men in the conversation. And I think most importantly, you are not reaching the right audience if you don't include men in the conversation. If you try to bring about change, then just from like a statistical point of view, you should focus your actions where you see the most result. And in this case, that is what, as part of Girl Up HKU, we plan to do as well. And if there are people who are listening in, who will watch this later on, we have on our Instagram page, we did a very good couple of posts about feminism and how it relates to men very recently. So just as a segue from this conversation, I'd like to point them out towards that. So yeah, thanks, Nupur, for asking this question.
Speaking of conversations, how do you plan on tackling the taboo around sensitive but pertinent issues?
Honestly, as I think South Asians, we know taboo so well because we see it every day in our lives. We see it in any conversation that we have. That's why I mentioned that, a lot of the time you will not be having these conversations with your mom or your sister because there's sometimes in a lot of South Asian families, you have this kind of barrier to talk about these issues, talk about sex, talk about menstrual hygiene. So it's something that I think we've developed over so many centuries of the patriarchy, especially in countries like India. And that's why I think, again, it comes down to being active listeners. I think you brought up such a good point. Like, if you really reach out to people around you and you ask them questions, and the women around you, and you ask them questions, and you make it a more comfortable space. So the idea of Girl Up HQ was to create a comfortable, safe space for women to have conversations like this, to women to come up to any of us, or we're trying to create like a monthly safe space conversation sessions where women can just come and talk to us about anything. It could be about safe sex, it could be about self-pleasure, like all of these things that, in a general, you have a taboo about, especially in South Asian cultures. And it's like, again, develop these safe spaces, create sort of a open dialogue where anyone feels free to say these things that they might not share with even family. And then, be active listeners, listen to the people around you, listen to the women around you, the issues they face, how they feel about these things. And I think when you start conversation, everyone becomes more comfortable to talk about these issues, however much a taboo they might be.
I'd just like to add on here that while Katyani spoke very well about the issues regarding taboos, I think I'd just like to add on that we need to also recognize the fact that there are different taboos across. There are some universal taboos, as you'll quite easily realize from millions of likes and interactions on Instagram on very popular posts. And there are also taboos that are region specific or a community specific. Just out of operating of the University of Hong Kong, for example, our main goal or our reach is to create change at the university level, right? And the university has a wide variety of communities and different sectors within the same community coming together. So our goal here isn't to particularly talk about like South Asian taboos or East Asian taboos or whatever it is. Our goal really here is just to provide a platform. We are saying we'll give you the space to have an honest and open discussion about these issues, as Katyani said. So while we address some of these issues, I think it is important that we maintain a global outlook on all of this, because we don't want to start regionalizing within a broad movement, right? I think that's counterproductive. So that's kind of been our guiding focus while we continue on this journey.
I mean, unfortunately, I feel like the taboos are always about issues about women. So even if it's about South Asian cultures or East Asian cultures or the West, anywhere in the world, the taboos are always about females. They're always about female pleasure. It might be like maybe out in the West it'll be more about female pleasure, and out here it'll just be about menstruation, which is just a simple thing that we should be able to talk about. But yeah, I think the taboos always kind of surround conversations that actually affect women. So yeah.
Which like brings me to my next question, which is so there are, every audience needs like a different sort of catalyst to start. So how do you think your university audience is different from, say, like our Indian audience right now, like in the current scenario? And how do you relate to them?
So Shivan's gonna take this first,
Sure.
so that I can have time to think.
There clearly is a difference. I can only speak from my perspective. The audience I surrounded myself with is very easily the elite. I think most people who are going off to like foreign universities don't come, especially universities abroad, don't come from pretty underprivileged backgrounds anyway. So that already creates a barrier in terms of who we speak to growing up, right? And growing up in Bangalore and then going to Bishop Cotton Boys School, and the people I surrounded myself around, the people from Bangalore will understand that the central area of Bangalore is just filled with the same kind of students over and over again. And I can see you nod your head there. I mean, it's true. It's not, yeah, it's the point here. The point here I'm trying to make is there isn't too much variance, right? And that kind of blinds us to the issues that people face. However, when you come to university, in general, any university you go to, you will find a larger section of people that you have to deal with. Now, this provides a very good opportunity for you to open up your, broaden your own views first, and then try to build meaningful discussion around some of these issues. If you want to talk about how the university audience is different from the school audience, for example, I'd say, just from my personal experience, the audience I spoke to at school when I presented some of the things I did, I shouldn't say I should say a team. We really had a team backing up all of this, was kind of on the same page about a whole bunch of stuff. So really there was much less resistance or much less back and forth between ideas. However, at the university level, there are many more issues that you have to, I don't want to say issues, I want to say obstacles that you'll have to overcome. You'll have to overcome the idea of national and linguistic barriers. You'll have to overcome the ideas of administrations and bureaucracy. You'll have to overcome the obstacles of, I mean, they're just endless, really, aren't they? I mean, Katyani can speak at much greater length about this, and possibly better than I can. But I think it's just important for anyone to know, for people moving from like a high school, which tends to be same kind of people bunched together, to university, which has 40,000 students, the change is vast and is noticeable. And I think it is up to you to be able to say that, hey, I will adapt to this and I will make a better place out of all of this.
I think in that, sorry, I thought you lost us. I think in that way, Shivam and I had very different cultural backgrounds. I think for me, I was always, because I never really had like a stable home. I was always moving around. I was moving from country to country. So I had that way to interact with people with so many different opinions and cultures and religion. In my old school, I remember I had students from, it was such a crazy mixture of cultures, and we really learned from each other. We really learned to embrace that crazy, basically. And I think I learned so much from that environment that okay, so this person does not necessarily think the same way I do, so how do I reach out to that person? So I think in that way I was very lucky to be equipped with I know that I'm very well aware of the privilege of the society that I live in. So of course I know that people that I live with are very well aware about certain issues, are very open-minded, I guess I can say, about certain issues. But I was also able to interact with a bunch of people from so many different countries and cultures who had such a different view on the world, such a different view on cultures and societies, that I think I kind of built that inside me. Like, how do you reach out to this person? So yeah, we actively try to use language. We try to use the local language in Hong Kong. We try to use Cantonese in our captions, in our stories, so that we can sort of reach out to a wider range of people, so that it doesn't feel like it's a international only or local only community. It's supposed to be for everyone, right? So there can be a lot of segregation in universities. There can be a lot of like this cliquey culture where you have like different countries grouping up together, and you have different the majors grouping up together. So you want to create an open community. So we do that through, firstly, language barriers. We try to use language that's easy for everyone to understand, and also translate a lot of our material. We tried to, and we created our core team, which is honestly an incredible team that we have, that's honestly helped us grow and start. Our core team is actually made up of people from a lot of different countries. There are people from a lot of different backgrounds, cultures, religions, as well as even majors, which helps us in the way that in like a university setting, it kind of brings people from every part of the I don't know, like every part of the university, all of the students. And what happens is, I think that way we reach out to a larger audience, and I think that way we've been pretty lucky, because I've been pretty lucky that I had like this experience with like reaching out to different cultures and people who are different to me. So I just feel like it hasn't been that difficult, especially because everything's on social media. And a lot of our work currently is on social media, and social media can reach out to as many number of people as you want. And it's just about creating content and good content. And I think at the end of the day, especially for us as a group who are currently completely focused on creating content online, a lot of our work is creating content online. It also really depends on creating quality content that also looks good and sort of gets your attention. So I think it's a bunch of reasons, but yeah, creating good content, making sure you're reaching out to a wider audience. So the people who are also involved in your organization as like the running it, as well as reaching out to people with different culture, languages. So I think that's how we've kind of made it work, even though we're on like a university setting in a different country. But yeah,
I think just here as well, I think we need to also give credit to the University of Hong Kong for the environment which it has built. It's very easy. It's much easier at our university than other universities to find interdisciplinary stuff that's going on at the university, and to meet people from various other, as you said, like cultures, and especially majors, because I see that tends to be something that is quite common across universities in other parts of the world. And certainly in much more rigid university systems, majors tend, like all the law students tend to stick together, all the civil engineering students kind of stick together, and so on. You don't see as much of that at the University of Hong Kong, and I think that's a good thing. And that certainly helped our cause in the fact that we were able to recruit people from such a diverse variety of majors. I think that's the key thing that we were able to do, simply because the environment was right at the point of time where we started it.
Yeah, so my last question is, aside from Girl Up HKU, can you tell like whoever's like watching this right now, what other pages they can follow to just like educate themselves and make themselves aware of issues that are female issues or gender equality issues that are around?
I think there's a wide range of, I think social media has really helped us as a group to grow. And because of the pandemic, we weren't able to have events. Like our main way of reaching out to volunteers initially was, okay, we're going to have a big event and we're going to call everyone, and then everyone's going to like, try to sign up. But we couldn't do that. So all of our signups, all of the whatever work we've done so far, whatever community we've built so far has been online. It's been through social media. So I think this kind of adds to your last question as well about catalysts for conversations. Social media is such a strong like platform for us. It's been such a good platform for us. Most of our work has been on there. Most of our work has been done through there. So yeah, I think it's really important now that we're consuming so much of social media to be following people and to be looking at pages that really not just support your ideas, but that help you think outside of your ideas, help you question what you're thinking, help you question the people around you, and make you a better person in general.
one of our most important goals as Girl Up and any Girl Up club is to provide avenues for women leadership and mentorship, and that's one of, and specifically in the fields of like investing, fundraising, and so on. Issues that are not touched upon largely by other gender issues organizations, right? I think if anyone wants to find people that they want to follow, a very good way to do that is to go up on the Girl Up website, and they will provide you a list of all registered Girl Ups that exist everywhere in the world. I'm confident. I know that a couple of Girl Ups exist in Bangalore, for example, for the listeners that are from Bangalore. The one that comes off the top of my mind is the one at the International School Bangalore, TISB. Mission Cotton's My School runs a very active He for She campaign, for example. And just at the school level, there are multiple campaigns that run. And that's a very good way. And to people who do want to follow them, I'd recommend following across a geographic spread. There's Girl Up Zia in Delhi. There's Girl Up Latam covering Latin America. There's Girl Up Qatar covering Qatar. So, like just follow a bunch of them from all around the world. And I think that gives you, again, that what we say, like a global and a better understanding of what issues are, because we tend to categorize them into what we experience a lot. So just back to you, Katyani.
Yeah, I think Shubham just gave an incredible point. So if you know that there's a Girl Up near you, or any kind of campaign that runs near you, follow them, because that gives you a more in your community type of perspective of what they're doing, and you can help them in your own way. So there's also, if you just type Girl Up in your Instagram or wherever you do your social media stuff, mostly Instagram, I think there's a Girl Up for each region, and these are pages that the UN campaign runs themselves. So there's like Girl Up India and Girl Up East Asia Pacific or something like that, or Girl Up Asia. And these are like collective, this is someone in the United Nations Girl Up office who brings together content from all of this region. So that way you can connect with content for a particular region if you're talking about just Girl Up. And yes, follow groups and accounts that do this kind of work around you in your regions, because then you can help them directly. Otherwise, some profiles that I found super useful. So there's this page that we've been talking about this page for a couple of weeks on our Girl Up at HQ Instagram page. So it's called Girls That Invest. And I absolutely love it because it has so much of information about finance for women, investment for women, which is something that I feel like as women, you're not always taught about handling your own personal finances, what to invest in. I had no idea about 90% of the words and the language that they teach on that page. So I found that like such an incredible page. And there's so many. Anything you care about, you can find pages on it. But I think right now, especially something that's helped me, it's just like a personal anecdote, but like something that's helped me, especially in the time of a pandemic when everyone's like, oh, productivity and this and that. I think following pages that make me like happy, following people that inspire me, and not just that, following people who don't bring in like this negative, toxic image that social media has built in our brain of like what your life should be like, or what you should be like, or what your body should be like, and just following people who like just make you happy. Just unfollow anyone. One person I love, absolutely love, is Jamila Jamil. I think everyone should be following her. I think the reason why I always say her is like, I think she wrote a post about it as well, that you should unfollow anyone who's bringing any kind of negative energy into your feed, and follow anyone who just makes you happy. So I think that's basically at the end of it. Don't follow too many pages because you'll overwhelm yourself. But yeah, follow people who are in your region, who are talking about these issues in your region, and try to help them out in whichever way you can. And follow pages that interest you, but only follow things that make you happy and that bring in some kind of positive energy in your life, rather than create this toxic image of life and what it should be. So yeah,